We are back here on the midday show. Kimberley Egonmwan filling in for Perry Small on WVON. Art Design Chicago. This is an exciting initiative that features hundreds of artists across 30 neighborhoods that highlights their voices and stories that are part of Chicago's unique artistic heritage and creative communities. They are going to be holding several exhibitions on the South Side this fall, and we have got on the live line to talk with us Juarez Hawkins, who is an artist, an engagement fellow for the Resource Exhibition. She's a practicing artist, and her work is featured in the exhibition. We also have Eva Silverman, who is the Terra Foundation for American Arts Project Director for Art Design Chicago. Now, the Terra Foundation provided 124 grants by 80 cultural partners to fund the exhibitions. And that was an investment of more than $9.3 million for us to see all of this wonderful art. We want to thank you so much for coming on the show with us today.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
Tell us more about this Terra Foundation.
Sure. So Foundation for American Art is a grant-making organization. We are based in Chicago. We were founded here, but we fund worldwide, but we have a special commitment to Chicago. We focus on American art, and through grants to museums, cultural centers, colleges and universities, and other kinds of institutions, we really aim to support organizations and projects that are working to tell a broader, more inclusive, more truthful stories about American art. And our Art Design Chicago initiative is really the focus of our giving here in Chicago.
How long have you all been doing this Art Design Chicago?
So we've been doing it for the last 10 or 11 years. Our first iteration reached its culmination in 2018, and it was really successful, so we decided to do it again. And here we are in 2024 with, as you said, more than 35 different exhibitions and hundreds of events, all celebrating Chicago art and design, contemporary and historical.
What are some of the places that these exhibitions will be so that we know how to come out and see these pieces of art?
Yeah, so we're located all over the city in lots of different neighborhoods, from the north side up in Edgewater, and later next year in Evanston up at the Block Museum and the Mitchell Museum. We have activities on the west side in Pilsen and Ukrainian Village at the Ukrainian Institute of Modern Art, over in Lawndale as well. And then on the south side, Juarez will talk a little bit about what's going on at the Southside Community Arts Center in Bronzeville, but we also have activities at the Hyde Park Art Center, at the Stony Island Arts Bank in Greater Grand Crossing. So pretty much any quadrant of the city, you can find something that's related to Art Design Chicago.
Well, you just said something that made my ears perk up, the Southside Community Arts Center. When we talk about art in this country, it's one of the last remaining art centers that was actually set up during the Roosevelt years. And I think Eleanor Roosevelt actually came to the opening of that Southside Community Art Center. I know Ms. Hawkins, Juarez Hawkins, I want you to talk a little bit more about that fantastic Southside Art Center and what we can expect when we come out there.
Well, the Southside Community Arts Center has a fantastic legacy. As you mentioned, Eleanor Roosevelt was part of the dedication, and many, many famous names have come through there. If you remember Gordon Parks, who was a photographer who went on to direct movies like Shaft, Dr. Margaret Burroughs, Elzir Couture, the names are almost too numerous to mention. So they built a really strong foundation, and there are many great artists that are still exhibiting through there today.
Fabulous. And you are an artist also. Tell us a little bit about your background.
My background is kind of varied. I'm currently working in ceramics and printmaking. The work I have in the show is actually assemblage. I made several pieces from AOL covers, if you guys remember AOL, and it was in response to some negative commentary about black women and their hair.
So you said assemblage. Please explain what I think I know what that is, but explain to us what type of medium that is.
Sure. It can be any kind of material. If you think about collage as cut out pieces of paper and fabric glued to a surface, assemblage is actually a 3D form where you've got all kinds of materials glued and attached to something.
That's visualizing this AOL now. Is it the AOL? Is it the discs that they used to mail to everyone?
Not the discs themselves, but those little wooden cases that the discs came in.
But I'm on the right track. Okay.
Yeah.
You got my mind going now. Okay. So I really want to see what that looks like. So you've been a part of this. You are the engagement fellow for the resource exhibition. Explain exactly what that means.
Well, basically, I like to think of myself as the hype woman.
Okay.
But part of what I do is I'm coordinating the efforts of several community partners. I like to think of them as the Magnificent Six.
Okay.
And just as the artists in the show are working with recycled, upcycled, and found objects, a lot of our community partners that we're working with have actually reclaimed vacant lots and turned them into urban farms that actually serve to feed the people. In fact, one of our partners, Grow Greater Inglewood, is having a marketplace this Saturday.
Oh, okay. And so at the marketplace, what will people find there?
Generally at these marketplaces, you find all kinds of fresh produce. A lot of these places are started in food deserts, and what these farms have done is just create these supplies of marvelous produce, organic produce, so people in these underserved communities can have sources of good, healthy, fresh food.
Very, very interesting. Art Design Chicago is going to feature hundreds of artists, and we talked about some. We really want to hear some more of the South Side, West Side locations. I know you all mentioned the one on Stony Island. I know that there's a lot that has gone on there. I think there's something, the Stony Island Arts Bank, Theaster Gates, and he's someone who we have heard a lot of over the years.
Yes, that's right. That's right. The Art Design Chicago has provided grants to organizations like the Stony Island Arts Bank and Southside Community Arts Center that, support artists of color at, throughout the city, but in particular at the Stony Island Arts Bank, as you said, world-renowned artist Theaster Gates is kind of the artist featured there. But what's special about it is that he has cared for and restored the library and furnishings from the Michigan Avenue offices of Johnson Publishing,
so fabulous,
which of course was the publisher of Ebony and Jet magazines. Yeah. And so the exhibition shows this really amazing collection of those really beautiful pieces like office furniture and works of art and memorabilia, even some of Johnson's vintage workout equipment, which is really amazing to see. And so the whole arts bank is turned into this really immersive work of art. So the space includes a lounge, so visitors can go and experience the exhibition and then enjoy some drinks and listen in on a DJ set and hear other performances throughout the run of the exhibition. So it's a not to be missed opportunity.
I'm agreeing with you. I think for those of us who were fortunate enough, as a young girl, I was fortunate enough to be able to visit that building, the Johnson building, and to see some of the decor. I mean, I have to see this because it would be so wonderful to see it in a different space, alive again. That was such an important part of our history here in the city of Chicago. So that's something that's taking place there. We've got some other up-and-coming exhibits that we want to talk about after we come back from this break for traffic and weather. 773-591-1690. We are talking about Art Design Chicago, and we'll be right back. And we are back having a wonderful conversation about Art Design Chicago. We're talking with Eva Silverman and Juarez Hawkins, and I'm looking at some of these upcoming exhibits. I know the city of Chicago is determined to make Chicago a center of the fashion world. Tell us more about this Chicago-style film and fashion show that's coming up.
Oh, great. Yes, it's such an exciting event. It's happening on Saturday afternoon at the Green Line Performing Arts Center, which is right kind of west of the University of Chicago's main campus. It's part of the University of Chicago, and it is organized by a group called Illinois Humanities, and it is a combination fashion show and film that is focused on kind of everyday fashion in the Black community from like the, in the 20th century. So 60s, 70s, et cetera. So they had a cohort of folks who kind of researched this period and went thrifting and created some looks, and they'll be showing those looks, and then the film pulls from just an archive of everyday people's home movies. So I'm really excited about that one. But I would tell people get there early because it's going to fill up. So
what
get there
space
early.
is that? Where is that?
The Green Line Performing Arts Space?
Yeah.
It is part of a entity at University of Chicago called Arts and Public Life, and it's in Washington Park.
It's in Washington Park. I'm just trying to picture where it is. I know where the Green Line is.
Garfield.
I'm sorry?
It's down on Garfield near the Green Line.
Near the Green Line, yeah. So that's why I was saying I'll look it up. I'll try to see exactly where it is because it sounds like another cool place in our community. You're also going to be having the United Colors of Robert Earl Page. He sounds very interesting.
He is a treasure. Yes, Robert Page's show is at the Hyde Park Art Center, and it's open now through October 26th. He is a lifelong resident of Woodlawn. He's in his 80s now, and he's just a really incredible artist, designer, teacher, and his work just exudes joy. He's really known for his brightly colored textiles and really vibrant graphic patterns, which I think are often inspired by African motifs. And this is the largest ever show of his work ever, and it includes his textiles, but also some, drawings and tiles and prints and collages, work from over 50 years of his really prolific career.
Sounds so vibrant when you talk about it.
Yeah, it's just a joy, really a joy.
Now, the resource art and resourcefulness in Black Chicago at the Southside Community Arts Center. This is what we were talking about a little bit about Juarez, weren't we?
Yes.
And you were just saying they repurposed materials, and this is more your bailiwick, kind of you work in different mediums as far as 3D, more 3D art.
Well, 3D is more my thing, but you have also painting, sculpture, I think some photography. There are about 70 artworks in the show represented by about 40 artists altogether. So you got the likes of Sidney M. Lewis, Yvette Williams, Robert Johnson, Sandman Polk, Joyce Owens, Mr. Imagination, Mitch Melson, Douglas Williams, Marvin Tate, Bethany Collins, and the list goes on.
Look at you.
On.
That's great. That's wonderful that you know all of those names. I mean, these are people that we really need to know. The Greystone. Go right ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to mention, too, that in addition to the work that's in the exhibition, Resources also commissioned work by 4 local artists, Candace Hunter, Fahim Majid, Erica Allen, and Marcus Eileen. And Marcus's work is actually on the grounds of the Southside Community Arts Center, so you get to see his gathering spaces and his benches when you come to the center.
Oh, wow. You're just stepping into just a wonderland. This artist, how do you say this? I want to say this properly. Artisanal? Am I saying that right? Artisanal Roomscape Laboratory, which is at the Greystone. It's the Greystone Collective, and that's taking place in Bronzeville. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. So the Greystone Collective is an artist-run space that's located in an early 19th century Greystone, and it serves kind of as they call it a cultural laboratory for Black, queer, and transgender artists. And the exhibitions and activities that they have there celebrate the identities and stories of their members and also guests, while also really thinking about the ties to the neighborhood's historical Black creatives like Ida B. Wells or Richard Wright, Gwendolyn Brooks, Margaret Burroughs, And they have a new exhibition opening next weekend and several related events that are coming up. I know Juarez has participated in some of their events before, so Juarez, you might have more to say about that experience.
I did. I attended a bookmaking workshop there at Greystone. It was absolutely fabulous. I've always been interested in handmade books. And I think they're behind the one that they're doing with handmade paper as well. So if you're interested in book arts, paper arts, they handle that sort of thing. It's absolutely fantastic.
That sounds like it'd be something beautiful to watch. I've seen that paper being made in Japan. I've seen that online. I'm more interested in glass, like stained glass. So I'm going to find out more from you all about how to find out about that type of medium. How do we find you on the internet?
You have a couple of ways. There's artdesignchicago.org, where they have the whole directory of all the Art Design Chicago events. If you want to know more about resource, you want to go to sscartcenter.org, and they told me to say it twice, so that's SSC as in candy, artcenter.org.
Well, we thank you both for joining us and sharing this with us, giving us even more options to enjoy our weekends and our days in our own community. And we wish you so much success on Art Design Chicago. It just